Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm your host, Noor Kyle.
And I am her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, yes, indeed. And we would be so happy to welcome you and say hello to everyone who's here live. And those of you who are watching on the replay on YouTube, thank you so much for being here with us. So this time, what are we talking about, Mushtaq? We are talking about
We are talking about one of the most interesting of the fourth way exercises that Gurdjieff dragged into the West, that is usually known as the stop exercise. We've
hmm,
talked about it a couple times before over the years, but we want to um, dig down on it as something that can be useful for people in
yes.
particular ways. But before we get into that, we have to ask you to please, if you would be so kind, like this video. And if you are so moved, subscribe to our channel. And we would love it if you left a comment. And we accept donations. So if you would like to support us, look down in the notes for this video and send us some money. We'd be happy to receive it.
As it
So,
so happens right now, it is our
yes.
fund drive at this time. Yes, so for our fund drive, this is the end of the year where we have to take stock of all of our expenses that are just part and parcel of doing these presentations on the internet where we get others involved and are able to have group sessions and to put our work out there essentially for free for everyone who views them to hopefully learn and benefit from them and be able to apply them to real life and not just have it live in your heads. This is stuff we want you to be able to learn and apply and even share with others. And what makes it possible for us to do that is a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Like we have the Zoom platforms, we have the email lists that we manage. Soon enough, we want to have a website that we can use as a hub so that you can keep track of all the things that we have going on. All of those things do take material input from us. And because this is something that we do basically on a shoestring, it really does help us continue to do this work through the years with help from you guys. And for those of you who have already contributed, we're extremely grateful to you. And many of you already know that for those of you who are able to give $10 or more US, we're going to be offering you a PDF of a translation that Mushtaq has done. And that's of a traditional Sufi work that ties directly into our Sufi lineage in this school. And so it will allow you to get to know some of the figures and some of the ideas that have helped contribute to the nine-sided circle as it exists today. So that's pretty much all I'll say about that. Thank you so much for putting up with our spiel. But I will let you know that the links to those things, the PayPal to the Stripe, all of the things you can donate through are in our description. Just when you see the comment box, remember to put your email. So if you do have to donate $10 or more, we can make sure that you get that gift that we're offering to everybody. All right. Thank you. Onward. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the stop exercise.
Yeah.
So, in order to be to pinpoint it in history, Gurdjieff claimed that he learned this exercise in Central Asia, and this is we would say before 1915, probably in the 1800s, because he said in search of the miraculous many years ago in Central Asia, and he said that early on. And he told about learning this movement. Uh, So we have that. He taught it to his early Russian groups, and he taught it when he was in the Caucasus during World War II, or World War I, excuse me. Uh, and he taught it in Tiflis, which is in Georgia, in Constantinople, and in the Priory, or however one pronounces that in French. So throughout his
Queer,
career,
queer.
yeah, I don't speak French, so I can never say it right.
Thanks. Thank you, though. Then everybody can know what we're talking about. Sorry
Interesting
about
thing
that.
is,
Onward.
in Ouspensky's account, Gurdjieff emphasizes the two historical rules for the exercise. Uh, Only the principal teacher or someone explicitly appointed by him may give the command stop in whatever language they're giving it. Usually it's in Arabic, which is wukuf, and it is considered sacred in the schools, and it is never used as a game or casually, uh, because there are real physical and psychological risks if a person is frozen in a dangerous and extreme uh, posture. So I know that Madame de Saltzman and J.G. Bennett both carried out the exercise after Gurdjieff's death. I don't know how that worked out, but uh, that's the history. Now, why would we do this? What is the benefit of the stop exercise? Bueller.
What do you guys remember? Maybe even a little bit of what we talked about in the past about the stop exercise.
It's to interrupt the mechanical self.
Yes.
Hmm.
And it is also to get you out of your habitual postures. Gurdjieff uh, basically said that human beings have a limited number of postures that they go through every day. And that seems to be the case. And if you can create a new posture in between one posture and another, it forces you to experience the world a little bit differently. It's also to create a deliberate shock in the flow of life. And you need those shocks every now and again. Things that break you out of your habitual conditioned responses to anything. The stop is designed to create what's called a pattern interruption. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to belabor the point and talk about it again. A habit is one unit of behavior. That means there is an initiating stimulus to the habit. One goes through the habit, and then there is an endpoint to the habit. We used to, back when everybody smoked cigarettes, we used to talk about that as a great example. If you look at a smoker, they have an initial urge to smoke a cigarette. From that point on, there's one unit of behavior, which involves taking out their pack of cigarette, doing whatever they do, maybe tamping it, taking out the cigarette, putting it in their mouth, taking out the lighter, lighting the cigarette, inhaling the smoke, blowing it out. That's the one unit of behavior. You can interrupt that. And when you do, it creates the need to reset. If you interrupt a behavior in its middle, the human mind will glitch for a second. Handshakes are a great example of this. Milton Erickson used to use the handshake inductions all the time, and they work really well. So he would reach out to shake somebody's hand, and as the hands were almost touching, he'd come up with his other hand, lift the hand up in front of the person's face, and say to them, "Now, if it's easier for you to just close your eyes as I let your hand go, you can drop into a trance." And they would, because a handshake is one unit of behavior. It's done unconsciously from the moment of the first stimulus. So there's a lot of different ways that you can interrupt that pattern and create a moment of reprogramming if you know what you're doing.
Mm.
Most
Yeah.
of it has to do with hypnosis, but it doesn't have to.
Some other opportunities might be checking your phone, right?
Oh man, these days.
Opening the fridge door,
Yeah,
things
for
like that.
some people, not for everybody, but the
Yeah, not.
phone is almost universal now.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's actually hearing the chime for a message on the phone. That's the usual initial trigger.
Mm.
So imagine reaching for the phone and having your teacher go, "Stop!" And you have to freeze there halfway to your hand, halfway to the phone with your hand, and just stay there and be. That's going to create a little reset point for the habit.
And you get to see all of the things that, in the case of doing a formal stop exercise, you get to see all the little things that your body, your face, your thoughts are doing while you're making that reach for the phone.
Yes, Nancy.
One thing I've been thinking about since I've had some dealings with the medical system is they say, what is your name? What is your date of birth? What is your phone number? What is your address? And that is a real time to go unconscious.
Yeah, I use that as a time to keep close attention to what the person is doing, make sure that they don't go unconscious. The reason they ask for your name and birth date is to make sure that you are actually the patient that they're there to treat or check on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but they do that unconsciously too. That's their habit.
Hmm.
So, beings as they're going through a habit too, you have to keep an eyeball on them to make sure that they don't just whiff through the thing. I like to go, "Oh, my name is blah, blah, blah. My birth date is blah, blah, blah." And then stop for a second and go, "Wait a minute, is that right? Is that what it says my birthday is?" And just watch their eyes cross and go up at the same time.
Yeah, well, I'm irritable about people who mispronounce my name, so that keeps me conscious
Yeah.
of a sort.
So now the thing is, unless you are in a formal school that actually understands how to do this, and here's the thing. These days, from what I've seen, most of the schools who do this don't understand what the hell they're doing. And I remember seeing one school where it was all about could you succeed or would you fail, as opposed to could you stay present. And that's not the game. So, what do you do if you are not in a position to be in a real school and have somebody who's competent to do the stop exercise? And the answer is you learn to do it yourself. You can do a stop exercise for you. And that's the main thrust of this talk, because trust me on this, human beings desperately need this skill right now. As a species, we are slipping deeper and deeper into mechanical behavior almost daily.
I was going to say daily as kind of a, a protective mechanism so that we don't have to engage with all this garbage that we're being bombarded with and stressed out by. Why not just lean back and go on autopilot? It's easier. It feels safer. But why not? Why wouldn't we do that?
Because the sense of safety is the same sense that you get from injecting heroin.
There you go. I think that says plenty in and of itself. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to share what Noor just mentioned. Like I noticed that in myself, uh, like it was very strange. Like I was finding myself more and more into mechanicalness, and yeah, I just didn't know like why or what, like why this is happening. But I think yeah, it was kind of a protective mechanism now that you mentioned. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to share.
It's painful to deal with reality sometimes, especially when we are existing in a time of greatest work. If we were to map it out on an Enneagram, we would be sitting at 0.5, which is often known as the dark night of the soul.
Woof.
And the only way past this is to get through it. And that requires a number of different things. This may be our next talk, how to get through the dark night of the soul, the Sufi way.
I'll make a note. It's worth tapping into that.
Yeah. So the stop exercise is designed to interrupt your patterns and allow you to create a sense of presence. It requires, when you're doing it in the old way, it requires that there be a teacher present. And the teacher has to be competent to do this. But there is another way. And the other way is for those few people who can actually be intentional behind this, better than doing the stop exercise in the way that Gurdjieff did it. I realize I have just committed a heresy, but it's true. Using a teacher in an artificial setting to create the stops is of limited use compared to being able to create those stops when you need them. So here's a question. When do you need these stops? Anybody?
Yeah, Sam.
I need it 5 times a day.
At the very least. And yes, that is one form of creating a stop.
And I recently, it's interesting that you say this. I recently bought myself one of those alarm clocks that read the full azan at the, and I just naturally decided that whenever I hear it, when I'm home, whenever I hear it, that I just stop whatever I'm doing all the way through until the azan finishes. No matter what position I was in, I'd just stop and freeze and listen. And it felt really weird. strange in the beginning, but I've kind of really it's present with what I'm doing. And the other day there was someone here when the azan went, but so I thought, oh, and I reached out to turn it off, and it was a non-Muslim person who I thought, might freak out with Allahu Akbar. So I automatically then went to turn it off, and they said, no, 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 please leave it on. I'd like to listen to it. And it started a good conversation afterwards. So it served me in many ways. So the
Yeah,
alarm clock is working.
I love that. I think that um that's a good way to begin training this practice. It's a little bit different from the practice itself, but I love that there's this attitude of creating space for a pause, creating space for the discipline of committing to, coming back to the present when you hear the adhan go off. So that's beautiful. And as an aside, yeah, whenever the azan goes off around non-Muslims, I always get a bit like stressed because you never know how people are going to respond to that and what they're going to think because of the fact that the phrase Allahu Akbar has such like it just means God is greater, but it's come to mean a lot of weird things for people who aren't in the know on what a lovely, powerful phrase that is in a spiritual sense.
Yeah, and I guess, maybe an alarm like that or a particular thing that you could choose for yourself, like every time you hear a bird, you stop or something, like can we do that? Can we kind of create something that works for us
Yeah,
to help
you could
us remind
definitely
us?
do that. And we're going to suggest one thing that everybody can do. Because with a habit, there is a
Okay.
moment before the habit starts that if you're paying attention, you can interrupt the habit yourself. Once the habit starts, you might as well just let it run through and observe it. But there is that moment at the very beginning where you can interrupt it. And that's the kind of stop exercise we're talking about today. So let's say I'm a
Yes.
smoker.
Do you have a moment for Osama to chime in?
Yes, we have a moment for Osama. We always have a moment for Osama. What are you talking about?
Thank you. Um, there was one time I tried, I think after the last time that we talked about this, the stop exercise or the sacred pause or something like that, um, I found this random notification app, and you kind of give it a time that you're going to be up from, let's say, between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. It will randomly give you notifications, like three notifications or five or whatever at random times. You don't know. So I tried the experiment where just my phone will randomly get about a notification and I would stop. Now, obviously, sometimes I'm driving, so it's not really,
Yeah,
it's
don't do the stop exercise while driving.
yeah, can't do that. Um, However, what I found is that it turned into another habit. It turned into another notification on my phone, right?
Yeah,
Um, which like in the beginning was all good, but at some point it just turned into another notification on my phone, which was maybe more harm than good. But um, one of the things that I wanted to mention, because you asked a question of like when would be a good time or something like that, and I was thinking about that, and the the time, like for myself, when I'm just working, let's say sending emails or doing something on the laptop, sometimes I go into like legit mechanical, like I'm not even aware of the space that I'm in. I'm just boom, locked in. Um, and not locked in as if I'm in flow, but I'm locked in as if like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm sending this email, I'm reading this or creating that. And the applicant or the notification helped me in those kind of settings. But I wonder what would it be because I sometimes I don't know for myself when I slip into that mechanical. I'm doing the work, it's all gravy, all good, and then boom, I'm in that mechanical um phase, I guess.
Like
Until
hyper
some
fixated, just
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Until something happens that okay, I'm snap out of it, and then maybe I'll go into the kid or something like that. Um
I
yeah, so
mean,
I'm interested about hearing
you've
where
already
it
mentioned a number of interesting things. Thank you, Osama. Like this sense in which when you have this external uh thing saying, okay, time to check in now. It can often, I'm gonna say it often does because this is the way it goes with our phones and the kind of like Pavlovian tune in, tune out response that we have to them. It's gonna work until it doesn't work. Yeah. And that's something we can kind of expect and it's a good experiment. It's worth trying. See what it does, see what you learn from it, because all of these things are opportunities for us to observe and remember and attune to our quirks so that we can better understand them and with time better frankly anticipate them, right? And figure out how to respond in a meaningful way. But yeah, how do we continue to set ourselves up for success instead of adding on new ways to space out and be overstimulated with bing, 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 flash, flash, dot that we're supposed to be attending to in the corner of that screen, all of those things. So I think we'll be diving into that a little bit further. So thank you for bringing up some important stuff, Osama. Yes, Heidi.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would probably need that stop exercise whenever my monkey mind just starts chattering with those internal fantasies and dialogues that it can invent. But I've noticed one thing that might help is or when those internal dialogues get going, I'm really usually disconnected from physicality. I just get disconnected. And one way to reconnect is just, I don't know, if I was having one of those internal dialogues and I started my exercise routine, that would help me a lot. Or I would walk down the road with holding my husband's hand. That would help a lot. That would tampen down those internal dialogues, that chatter.
Yeah, that's really good to notice too, because there's something about reattuning to your physical body, your sensory faculties that seems to help you get out of the cognitive, imaginary, you know, blah blah mental discourse that we all experience much of the time and come back into the physical here now, right? Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. All right, Mushtaq. Let's move forward. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we're moving forward now. So, in order to pull off the stop exercise, you have to have a few things. I like to have a special stop word, and I use the Turkish dur, and I use it in my teacher's voice. When I hear that it's my sign to stop. That has to be anchored to a particular event. And the event is the upwelling of a negative emotion. What's a negative emotion, you may well ask? It is any emotion that takes you away from the present moment, good or bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it can be anger, right? You can be angry at somebody and you go off being angry at them, but it can also be desire. You can think of the person who you long to hang out with and get lost in that. And that's just as negative as being angry. So negative emotions are the ones that pull you away from the present moment.
Yeah. If we're going to use that term, let's define it that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So the moment I see something like that coming up, I hear the stop cue in my head. And that takes us to this 5-step process. Nora, tell us about this 5-step process.
Yeah. So this is important to reiterate. We have discussed it before, but this is the process. First, we stop, just like Mushtaq described. We're interrupting that little squeaky rat wheel that's turning in our heads. And from there, we're taking a good long breath out. This is to get us recentered in our physical bodies, just like Heidi was mentioning, where we're reattuning to our physical body, our place in space, and just creating a moment of anchoredness there. Third, we're going to physically lean back or step back if we can. It can be subtle, but this is a physical cue that's going to allow your neurology to understand that you are giving yourself some space from the situation at hand. Maybe you're emotionally triggered. Maybe you are about to do something that you may regret. And that's what you're having this stop moment in the face of,
Yeah.
right?
And when we say step back, it doesn't have to be like a huge step. I can be here and I can give myself the stop command and
Mm-hmm.
then I just lean back like that. And that's enough.
Yeah, just changing your posture a little bit.
Yep.
And you are going to raise your head so that you're not crouching over and you're not, leaning it too far back either. Just comfortably centered. And again, you're continuing to breathe through this. And you're relaxing your hands, assuming that you're not, in imminent threat. That's not the kind of situation we're talking about here. This is just you recognizing that this is a moment of reactivity and you're taking that for what it is. So you're relaxing your hands and you're allowing your gaze to widen, softening and widening your gaze. Because what happens in these moments of, let's say, hyper focus or being triggered or being impulsively ready to act, we tend to zero in and lose sight of everything else. So we're countering that as well. The fourth step, now that you've given yourself room, you take some time to assess. And of course, this is all happening quickly. You're able to do this very quickly. This doesn't have to take a huge amount of time. But you're thinking about, what was happening in that moment when I realized that I was getting activated in a way that was initiating one of my patterns again. I was looking at my cell phone and I was getting a text from a particular person with whom I tend to have a relationship that involves a degree of anger. And I was watching that coming up for me. It was happening in my body. The sensations were located in such a place in my body. There's a bit of fatigue in my body that may be contributing to the way that that pattern was being triggered. Yada, yada, yada. You're assessing the situation. And then finally, with all of the grounding that you've done, the stepping back and the broadening the scope that you've done, the data that you've collected about the situation, you get to choose how you respond. You get to choose your next step forward. So we have stop, we have center, aka breathe, taking a long breath. That's 2. 3 is gaining distance and widening the scope, widening the vision, softening the gaze. 4 is taking stock, assessing. And 5 is responding.
And when you respond, ideally, you're responding from your higher centers, from your higher emotional and intellectual centers.
Yeah.
That's what you're aiming for.
You've made it possible for yourself to be able to do that.
And you have interrupted the habit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there's a lot to be gained from giving yourself just seconds to do these 5 things.
So
You're
let's
able
go
to,
through this together.
yeah, let's go through this, and then you'll be able to see for yourselves what you might be able to gain from doing practices like this one.
So, first step, stop. Second step, take a breath. Long exhale. Third step, move backward, gain space. Create a little space around yourself. Fourth step, assess the situation. What is your internal state? What is the state of that which triggered you? Fifth step, respond. And in this case, the response is, ah, that was nice. Or something along those lines. Or maybe, I hated that. It's whatever you want. This is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And because it's simple, it means you can learn it and adapt it to your own life. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. And if you do it when you experience a trigger to a particular unconscious state, it's going to stay fresh. And it's going to give you a tool to interrupt habitual patterns, which is priceless. This is the kind of thing we could take this to Mind Valley Institute and they would charge $5,000 a day to teach this to people. And it would be cheap at twice the price. And we're going to give it to you for absolutely nothing other than the minute or two it takes you to learn the practice.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. So Sama, do you have a thought or question?
Yeah. Well, number one, commenting on the simplicity versus so simple, right? And yet to be able to respond to the moment honestly, truthfully, in what the moment is requiring is the hard work.
Yeah.
Um, and because I can see this also benefiting in not just, I'm by myself and I have a, habit or whatever that I need to be aware of the mechanical aspect, but also in conversation,
Hmm.
also just in any kind of interaction, when I can take a pause, do that breathing, okay, I'm here, am I awake? Kind of these things, assess and assess the moment itself and respond, right? And sometimes, okay, oh, I caught anger. Am I gonna respond in anger? Is that the moment? Oh, I caught defensive. I became defensive in that moment because somebody said something. Is that what the real truth that I'm experiencing? Is that what it's asking me to respond in? So to respond in a self-disclosure way and honestly, like like this practice is like it's simple and yet it's a doorway to a lot of things.
It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yes, absolutely. And it doesn't even have to be heavy stuff necessarily. I mean, one thing that I've been thinking about recently is like, Mushtaq and I spend a lot of time together, and sometimes I notice that I feel an impulse to tell him something or crack a joke or uh tease him or rush to say something nice to him, but in a moment that it doesn't suit the moment for one reason or another. Or I'm noticing that I have kind of it's like impulsive or habitual rather than coming from somewhere authentic and reflecting him as a subject rather than an object I'm just like impinging upon. And when I catch myself, I can actually, for the most part, do the stop exercise on those little tiny things and just notice, oh, that's so interesting that I feel so compelled in this moment to uh I mean I can't even think of anything. Just like, the way a lot of us say I love you in kind of a compulsory sort of way, impulsive, unthinking sort of way. And to just take stock of that. No judgment whatsoever, but just taking a step back and thinking, I still feel that, but how can I express it in a way that's more present and intentional? Practices like this make that possible. Thank you, Osama, though. Thank you. Yes, Ian.
Yeah, it sort of occurred to me that in some ways this is basically a trigger for self-observation. But it
Exactly
seems
right.
but it seems like there's a little twist to it. I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Yeah, the twist is that it is specifically to get you to do self-observation and self-remembering at the moment of a mechanical stimulation,
Mm.
as opposed to just general. Anybody can sit down and do self-observation anytime, but it trains you to do it at the moment of a trigger. And that is priceless.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Great
And
connection.
go
Yeah.
ahead, Noor.
I was just going to say great connection, Ian.
Yeah. That's why we keep them around. So I find that using a word or stop that is not in your regular vocabulary is useful to prevent you from triggering yourself into something else. So that's why I use the Turkish, not to mention I can remember Sheikh Tanner yelling that word at me, which makes it useful. But you can use Spanish if you are not a everyday Spanish speaker, just alto. Or you can use Yiddish if you want, which I think is halten. Any language you want that is not in your usual repertoire. Does that make sense? Something that is outside of your everyday patterns is very, very useful. And since there are God knows how many languages in the world, pick one and associate that word for stop with actually interrupting a pattern.
Did you have a thought, Eden?
It just occurred to me that that's a little bit similar to the way some people suggest you should choose safe words.
Yes, I've been thinking that as well. Yes.
And everybody's mind just dumps right in the gutter.
Sorry to have taken the tone down.
Oh, no,
It's
not at
That's
just,
all.
okay.
We're
I'm
fine.
sure a lot of the audience might have been thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and it's all good. All right, great. So, yeah, I mean, it has that same power of cutoff, though. It's time to reset.
We,
Yes, Nancy.
Some stuff's been going on in my life where I've been thinking about having permission to feel better.
Yay. Excellent.
So, yeah, I suppose it can also just be feel differently or perhaps even feel worse, but permission to feel what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if there's more to be said about that.
Well, what comes to my mind, Nancy, thank you for bringing that up, is that in the assessment part, you are taking an assessment of what's happening within.
Mhm.
And we are looking to do that from a position of not getting caught up in the narrative nature of it, but
Mhm.
nonetheless to take a snapshot of what's arising, what's
Mhm.
happening within, what's happening without, and giving permission to ourselves to comprehend that snapshot, to value it. If we're not able or willing to do that, then it's very hard to respond in a way that is natural and fitting to the situation.
Mhm.
So very good point. And to Osama's point, where it seems simple, but it's really complex, that comes into play here too. It takes some practice and it's a long road for some of us to develop this sense of self-trust and the observational skills to be able to bear witness to things as they are and not get pulled away either into story or into further reactivity that we're trying to uh, take a look at in moments like this. Any other thoughts or questions so far? Yes. Go for it,
Yeah,
Risha.
yeah. I just wanted to say, uh, when Mushtaq mentioned initially that there is a gap before the start of a pattern where you can bring your awareness. So I was just wondering, like sometimes, like often you are able to stop the pattern, but sometimes you are not able to. Like you don't have the strength, even though you can observe, but you are powerless. You cannot do anything. And it's like you observe yourself being taken over by that pattern or habit or emotion, whatever. So in that case, I was wondering what to do, but
You
I
just
think
said
this,
it.
sorry.
You just said what to do. Observe.
Yeah, yeah. So I think in
If you
that case,
cannot cease the pattern, then you observe the pattern as it goes along. This will give you a little bit of distance between you and the
right.
pattern because
Yeah,
you are realizing that you are not the pattern.
right. Yeah,
And
so
the
that's what,
next time it'll be easier.
yeah, that's what my point was. Like this, with this exercise, I think it shifts the power to you.
Yes.
Like it creates a bit of gap between you and that because I always like whenever that happened, I didn't know what to do. I just watched myself being taken over.
Yeah.
I was like powerless, but I feel like if I can do this, it would at least give me some space between me and that pattern, or like at least shift some of the power back to me. So yeah, just wanted
Yes.
to comment that.
Excellent. And one thing that comes to my mind is even if we aren't able to stop the pattern in the moment, as you're saying, it gives us good information. I know I have thought myself personally, oh, I'm doing that thing where I check, I don't know, Facebook like 5 times in a row, even though I've decided, okay, I'm done looking at this. It's a very impulsive behavior. And I think, I know that I'm tired and I'm feeling a little bit distractible and hungry right now. So I think these are this impulsivity is a sign that there are other things that need addressing. So it's not a judgment about me having that impulsivity or that, following this pattern that I'm not so into. It's more, okay, what's contributing to that happening? And is there anything that I have the energy to do about that right now? And it pivots me to something that I can do something about. And that makes everything better. Hooray.
Any more thoughts? Questions? Answers? No? Okay. Well, let me suggest that you try this. And after you've tried it for a while, leave a message in the comments about how it's going for you. Let us know. We're curious as to how this works. And
Yeah.
that will help us refine how we teach people this particular practice.
Mhm. I'm curious to know what, to the extent that people feel comfortable sharing, I would love to know the patterns that people end up applying this to. What are the impulses or the patterns that you're like, I think I want to work on this. I'm gonna apply it to this thing.
For
I would love
example, I apply it daily to reading um, news or political posts
to.
because I will see things that begin to piss me off and I have to do something to stop it or I'll spend all day being angry about stupid shit.
Yeah. I'm not one to respond to comments, but I definitely have that trigger impulse sometimes if this upsets me and I want to say something, and I'll use that as a moment to practice this stopping the impulse and channeling that energy towards something that feels more resonant. That was a great example, Mushtaq, of the news. Ian.
Yeah, I was just going to say I actually do something very similar in both of those cases
Mm.
because I could get so outraged every day because I watch 2 hours of MSNBC, admittedly with a fair bit of fast forwarding, but I make a point of not getting outraged for more than a blip. Um, and it's very similar with comments. I just I mean I learned a long time ago, don't feed the trolls.
Yeah.
And I take that to heart.
A classic, but such a good one. It's
Yeah.
so relevant now.
And RM asks, can Sufi quote be an example of stop? And the answer is no, unless the Sufi quote just says stop. It needs to be a single word, something sharp, almost shocking. If it is more than one word, it's too long. So if you find a quote from Rumi that says stop, use that.
I don't know if I personally have a word. I mean, I think it's worth experimenting with that, but I
Yeah.
think it's more a nebulous "it's happening again" thought. Something of that nature where it's not words, but or hey, or let's not, that kind of thing. But I'm sure each of us can figure it out for ourselves. If we actually do the thing, don't just, hypothesize and imagine.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing to get anybody to do is to actually do it. M,
Uh, I think, I hope it will work. I'm going to try and do it on emotional eating. Lately, I've been doing a lot of emotional eating.
that's a great place to do it.
And I know it needs a particular level of willpower to resist the the craving or the just the go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this feels like you need willpower to stop, right? You
Yeah,
need the willpower first to stop. But then the way to create willpower is actually through these challenges, through
yep.
trying to do these.
The breathing room.
So
Yeah.
like the chicken and the egg thing, like
A
I
little
want more
bit.
willpower, but then I'm asking for more challenges. So
Yeah.
why not challenge myself with this and maybe just try this stopping and breathing and anchoring myself, leaning back from the kitchen, hopefully, and assessing why my eating isn't really because I'm hungry or because I'm bored or angry or anxious or whatever's going on. Um, and then hopefully responding more adult, more mature, more realistic, and listening to the body rather than that impulse.
Yeah. Because that's where the real desire is, right? Like to connect with something deeper. And even when willpower is lacking, sometimes we can tap into the true desire, which is, I mean, the food is can be used in service to that in some way. If we are, I want to be clearer about this and what I mean. Willpower, what is the point in having willpower if the kernel behind why we're trying to build it up, the kernel of desire isn't there? So
Mm,
attuning to that desire can make building up the willpower easier. Does that make sense?
mm,
Yeah. And somebody asked, can we just use the English stop? And the answer is, of course you can. You can use anything you want.
The goal is for it to work.
Yeah. We
Whatever
don't care how it
works.
works as long as it
Yeah.
works.
Hmm.
Do what works for you. So that's what we got. And the reason that we got it is because the world desperately needs this now. More human beings need to start interrupting the mechanical patterns in their lives if we are going to get through this particular phase.
Well, I
And
would say
go ahead.
it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if we don't, we're going to go the way of the dodo and uh, the big lizards and all of these things. No
Yeah.
dinosaurs left, no dodos left. There is no reason why we have to survive. Every other member of genus Homo has gone extinct. Think about that. In the history of humankind, there have been many genus Homo, many humans of various sorts, and all of them have gone extinct, except for us. And whether we know it or not, we may just be holding on by our fingernails.
Yeah. Rishab says previous civilizations that perished. Yes.
Yeah,
And in line with what you're saying, Mushtaq, I was thinking we have to expect some, I don't know how much more things can exponentially accelerate, but we have to keep in mind that that's the reality we're living in. We're
yeah.
living
And
in,
we don't want to find out how much more it can. We would like to stop it before it gets to that point.
well, in order to be prepared to address that, to counter it, we have to build up skills like this one. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes. And the good news is that you don't have to be a member of anybody's cult to do it.
No. Yeah, yeah. James says maybe not extinction, but certainly a new dark age. Well,
Certainly, and maybe extinction. I think we have to be realistic about that.
yeah,
We are
we
coming
don't.
closer and closer to extinction every damn day.
The doomsday clock.
The doomsday clock is ticking. And that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
if we make room for another species to become sentient, I'm sure that cockroaches will develop great art and music at some point.
So how do we make the most of our time here? Again, this is how we do that. You can't lose. You cannot lose if you take up practices that allow you to be more present and to have more agency in regard to your behavior and your thought processes and the way that you treat yourself and other people and the environment and all of these things.
And there are two ways right now to save the world. One, the first of which is send us lots of money. And the second is do practices like this, which are frankly a hell of a lot cheaper.
Hmm.
So do the practices first, then send us a lot of money. I am being facetious, but we've been, at least I've been studying lots of cults again lately.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been reading a book written by the son, the eldest son of Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who was a massive cult leader in her time.
Mushtaq's leisure time, everyone.
Yeah, study the cults.
What is that book, please? Says James.
It's called My Cult, Your Cult, as I remember, and it's what is his first name? Dale Dale Prophet, I think. Good book, fascinating. He does a good
Mhm.
job of. It's interesting because he and at least one of his sisters are both anti-cult people now, and they write extensively on this stuff. So, highly recommend it.
Nancy, do you have a thought? I see you unmuted.
Yes, yeah, I was just wondering if you'd noticed anything about cults that you hadn't noticed before.
Not in quality so much as in quantity. The patterns are pretty much well established,
Hmm.
and it's just a matter of how hard does any given cult run the pattern,
Hmm.
and how many people can they sucker in?
Mm, yeah. What are their favorite levers of control?
Yeah, there it is.
My Cult, Your Cult, How Cults Destroy Truth and Bolster Authoritarian Power
Yeah,
by
Sean Prop.
Sean Prophet. Yes.
I might as well throw in one thing that I hadn't heard before from John Attic about how people who get out of cults can spend a lot of years, decades, just going over and over how they were abused. But it's more useful to ask, what did you conclude from being in the cult, and is it true?
Mm,
That is a useful set of questions.
Mhm.
yes. I think that's something that many people who go through dire traumatic experiences have to address in their time.
Mhm.
Never fun. Sometimes can be, you know, can you can make meaning from that even when it feels like it's impossible. All right. So, without yes, James.
Just a slight add-on to Nancy's observation. One of the theories about charisma is the charismatic individual, or the apparently charismatic individual, is awakening in you some buried hope, dream, some aspect of yourself that you may have left behind in the course of like normal daily life, normal adaptation. And when that individual seems to emanate that quality, that gives them, for you, an air of charisma. Now, that in itself can be a useful piece of self-knowledge, as long as you realize that that individual may not be the source of that value that they think they are, that you think they are.
Yeah. There's a distinct difference between charisma and presence.
Mm.
And the way you can notice is that if you are with somebody who has a lot of true presence, objective presence, you will become more present yourself. If you are with somebody who just has mechanical charisma, you will fall asleep around them.
Yes.
Big distinctions. So look only for those people who help you to be present.
Is that because in presence, high is obviously active in its highest life,
Yes.
whereas
And
with
also
the
Huck.
mechanical charisma, it's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one is dead. So therefore, the charisma's there and could feel really alive and all of that, but actually, it's it's like a trance that puts you to sleep
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
rather than keep you awake
Yeah.
and
And
be.
you can see this going on when you watch a lot of these people who will just punch their audience's bliss buttons, make them feel really, really good.
Yeah, there's a big organization in Turkey that has recently collapsed, and most of its, well, not even recent, it's been 10 years now, but most of its members are just coming out of the shock of what's happened because they've devoted so much of their selves to that path. And this year I've received a few clients that are from that membership of that group, and the trying to come to realization of how did they not see, how they were blinded by the good they thought was in this that actually turned out to be actually quite destructive.
Yeah. The
And
thing
it's,
that people need to remember is that anybody can fall victim to a cult.
yeah, it all starts with good intentions.
Yeah, nobody joins a cult because they want to be somebody's slave. They join a cult because they think it's going to make the world a better place or make them better people. And
Yeah.
that's one of the values of studying cults, is to see how they manipulate mechanical consciousness.
Amen.
And it's really easy to manipulate mechanical consciousness.
I mean, we see it in ourselves all the time, right?
Yeah,
Damn, why do I keep doing that thing where I keep checking my email like 7 times?
yeah.
Hmm.
It's because you get the dopamine hit.
Even when there's nothing there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, Rashid.
Just
Thank you.
to add to I don't know, Eminem's point, I think it's like when you are part of that, you don't see like you are part of that, or like you are not, you see yourself as like superior to everyone else, and you don't
Yeah, it's part
realize
of it.
like
Yeah.
the direction that you don't tend to see the direction the group or the cult is actually heading to. So yeah,
Yep.
I just wanted to add.
Sometimes you don't know until they bring out the Kool-Aid. And then it's too late.
Mm. Yep. Yep. Yep.
All right. Let's go to Brady Bunch mode here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. And I think we all have I think we all know why this stuff is important. I think we know why it's important in our own lives, why it's important culturally, globally, that we make an effort to apply things like the stop exercise. So simple and yet so profoundly powerful.
And remember, you don't need a guru to do the stop exercise.
Mhm. No,
All right.
important. All right, let us know. Give it a shot. Let us know what you apply it to, and we look forward to hearing about it. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, folks.
We can wave to each other and everyone watching. Bye. See you next week.